Anos was an ugly Giga-Chad who killed the anime gods and ruled the world with an iron fist as the demon king of tyranny. However, he grew tired of the tragic war and gave his life for world peace, so he could reincarnate 2,000 years into the future and crack them all again. 2,000 years ago, the Great Spirit Mother Leno was ambushed in the Great Spirit Forest Aharthurn. The Heavenly Father God, Nus Galia, arrived bearing good news. He wanted to crack and create a new child of God, and her womb had been chosen for this divine opportunity. Leno immediately refused and impaled the divine diddler through the chest. However, Nus declared a god's order was absolute, wrapped her in her own vines, and got ready to spread them. Suddenly, Anos activated a Geo-Graze to free her and pierced Nos through the heart. Nos claimed he was glad Anos was there since the gods had decided to destroy the demon king of tyranny. He began chanting a divine order, but Shin slit his throat and sealed away his voice. Anos declared even the laws of the gods would be wiped out before him. Afterward, Anos turned to Leno and asked for her decision. When she chose to place her trust in him, he ordered Shin to remain by her side after his death and protect her. Days later, Anos offers up his life to erect a barrier separating the four realms, allowing the hero Kanan to take his life. In the present, Anos arrived at the Demon King Academy and was greeted by the fan union baddies. His personal waifus, Misha and Sasha, also wished him good morning. When Lei and Misa arrived, Sasha was surprised they were walking around together now that they were cracking each other. In class, the royal bums were disgusted and believed Anos should have died during the war. Their teacher, Menu, introduced two exchange students from the Hero Academy, Eleanor Bianca and Zacia Bianca. The royals were outraged since Azacion had provoked a war against them. Menu explained it was part of a scheme devised by Headmaster Diego and that not all humans were scum. Eleanor and Zacia took seats beside Anos and thanked him for getting them into the academy. Next, Menu introduced their new homeroom teacher, the Blaze King Erdemaid. The royal students mocked him for lacking noble blood, but Manu informs them Erdemaid had been born long before the 7 demon emperors. He is one of the 4 evil royals, commanding a force second only to the demon king of tyranny. The Blaze King first announced the fake demon king's name, Avos Dilhevia, shocking the class. He revealed they had all been brainwashed into believing in a fake king, despite the real one sitting beside them fully reincarnated as Anos Voldigoad. Erdemaid explained Avos Dilhevia was a false name created to mislead Azacion as part of a plan to annihilate the Demon King after his reincarnation. He then presented a sealed zect, signed by all 7 demon emperors, confirming the truth before asking Anos to step forward and give a statement. When Erdemaid made every desk disappear, Misha and the others immediately dropped to their knees, followed by the fan union. The royals tried to resist, but eventually collapsed as well. Anos dispelled the spell and told everyone to take their seats. Dilhade was at peace, so there was no need for a demon king. Whether they acknowledged him or not was their choice. There was nothing noble about power or blood, and he claimed he was simply an ordinary demon like everyone else. As Anos returned to his seat, he called out the Heavenly Father God, Nus Galia, hiding behind a lame disguise. During the lecture, Nus explained the conflict of the mythical age began because of the goddess of destruction, Abernu. To prevent the world's destruction, the demon king of tyranny defeated her and seized her power of annihilation. After she fell to earth, he changed her name and eventually created the Demon King Castle Delsgade. Her power became the magic sword of destruction, Venus Danoa. That act disrupted the world's order, leading the gods to create a new order meant to destroy the demon king of tyranny. The royal students dismissed the story as nothing more than fairy tales and the ramblings of an old geezer. Erdemaid then revealed himself as the Heavenly Father God, the order responsible for creating gods. He instantly placed slave collars around every royal student's neck. Anos told them to let go of their hostility toward him, explaining nothing would happen if they held no intent to harm him. Nus declared the order destined to destroy the Demon King was the new child of God, and that child was already inside the academy. Anos drew the magic sword of destruction and told him to try. Nus claimed the sword could destroy him along with all logic itself. However, if the Heavenly Father God were destroyed, the world itself would fall apart. Anos pierced him through the heart with the sword and declared hiding behind the world wouldn't save him. After Nus perished, Anos revived his divine source with only 10% of its original power so the world wouldn't be destroyed. After a divine spanking, Nus resumed the lecture as if nothing had happened. When Lei explained gods always honored their promises with humans and demons, Anos suspected Nus had once promised someone he would teach at the academy. Anos went to speak with Melheis, while everyone else split into groups to investigate the child of God. While Lei and Misa promised to always fight by each other's side, a diddler named Gerard emerged from the shadows, claiming he'd been sent by her father. Before meeting Melhais, Sasha suddenly reported Revest had been attacked and Manu had been kidnapped. However, he had apparently cast a tracking spell on them. Anos warned everyone it could be a demon from 2,000 years ago and told them to be careful. Upstairs, he found Melhais impaled like a burnt shish kebab. Anos attempted to revive him, but the man countered, forcing Anos to freeze his body in time before it collapsed. The man revealed himself as Zeke, the Blaze King's military advisor. Anos asked whether he knew his master's body had been possessed, and he admitted he did. He claimed Erdomaid had deliberately sold his soul to the gods to create an enemy for Anos. Since Ziek was weak and pathetic compared to him, he proposed a challenge. Meanwhile, Jarad drew the other half of Misa's father's blade and stabbed her in the melons. Eleanor and Zeshia arrived at the other hero reincarnation's location, only to find them zombified. Zabro appeared, introducing himself as one of the 4 evil royals' lieutenants. Zeke explains the rules of the challenge. Anos must tell him who he believes the child of God is among his subordinates, and Zeke will confirm if he's correct. However, Zeke is only allowed to lie once. Anos gets 18 guesses. If he wins, Zeke's magic power will be sealed for 5 seconds. But if Zeke wins, Anos's power will be sealed instead. They can't ask the same question twice, attack each other, and forfeiting means losing. Before accepting, Anos suggests lowering the guesses to 9. Zeke thinks that's absurd, but Anos claims he's the demon king of tyranny. They seal the agreement with a Zect and begin. Meanwhile, Lei deflects Jarad's blade before it reaches Misa. When Lei asks why he's after Misa's source, Jarad explains she is the child of the great spirit Leno, and her source can control all spirits. Elsewhere, Eleanor is pissed she's facing such a despicable spell. Misha and Sasha catch up to Manu's kidnapper, only to discover they were the real targets. After thinking it through, Anos concludes the child of God is either Misha, Sasha, Zeshia, or Misa. His first guess is that one of the 4 is the child of God. When Ziek confirms it's correct, Anos expected that answer, but knows it could also be a lie. He guesses Sasha, Misha, Zeshia, and finally Misa, which is correct. Anos finds it strange since he solved it on his 5th guess. During Lei's fight, he outmaneuvers Jarad and slashes his back, but takes damage instead. Jarad reveals the magic shield Genius curses anyone who wounds its master. Lei attempts to destroy it, but the shattered crystal destroys his source and kills him. Zabro summons a group of ghouls created from the people he slaughtered on the way in. Zeshia summons her sword, but Eleanor drags her away. As they run, Eleanor apologizes and promises to return for them. They reach the center square and find a large purple crystal. Eleanor claims destroying it will revert the ghouls back to normal. Suddenly, the other students catch up and surround them while Zabro laughs and taunts them. He activates a spell and begins draining their magical power. Meanwhile, the assassin pulls out an invisible blade and attacks the twins. They both dodge, but Sasha is struck in the chest. She covers herself with ice while the twins activate Geo Graze and launch it at her. After the atomic explosion, the woman slices through it and cuts Sasha across the chest. She then impales her through the heart and sends her crashing down. After crushing Sasha, she stabs Misha in the chest as well. Zeke confirmed Misa was the child of God. If that was his lie, then none of the 4 could be the child of God, contradicting his claim that it was one of his subordinates. If he only lied about Zeshia, then there would be 2 children of God, violating the God's order. The only conflict existed if Misa was the child of God. But if that was the lie, then the child of God could be someone outside the 4. For example, if it was Lei, there would be no conflict. At this point, Anos believes it's either Misa or someone else entirely. However, he thinks it's too easy. When he asks if the child of God has demonic eyes, Ziek confirms it. Anos wonders if the answer is the fused form of Misha and Sasha. Since only Sasha has demonic eyes, Misa being the child of God is incorrect. Knowing Zeke can't lie anymore, Anos asks if the answer is a half demon and half spirit. It's incorrect, meaning it isn't Misa since she's the only hybrid with a spirit. Next, he chooses the fused entity of Misha and Sasha, but that's incorrect as well, leaving him with one final guess. Anos concludes it's none of them, and that he implanted a fake memory within himself. He had been searching for an answer that never existed. Zeke suddenly admits that was correct and summons his minions. The moment Anos accepted the duel, he had already lost. The sealed Zect prevents him from attacking, and forfeiting would seal his magic power. Anos instantly forfeits and breaks the Zect. Zeke immediately stabs Melhais through his source, then turns around to see his minions already defeated. Anos asks if he really thought sealing his magic power could defeat him and realizes his true target was Melhais. Zeke admits defeat and tells him to kill him since he completed his goal. Suddenly, Melheis comes out of his ditty closet, claiming it was disrespectful to claim victory over the Demon King. Meanwhile, the kidnapper prepares to slay Misha, but her blade shatters against her neck. Misha had changed its form the moment she was stabbed. She turns around and sees the horror she summoned. Misha manifests Delsgade, the demon palace, and a god itself. Using the power of the demon castle, she crushes the kidnapper into an ice cube. Elsewhere, Lei gets up and destroys the other 3 crystals, sacrificing 3 more of his sources. Gerard thinks it's impossible until he takes a closer look and sees 3 more sources. He realizes Lei has a total of 7 and is the reincarnation of the hero Kanan after seeing the holy sword, Evan's mana. Lei then stabs him through the chest and sends him to hell. While Eleanor and Zeshia are being drained, Eleanor activates the forbidden magic within her source and blasts Zabro into the void. Afterward, she uses holy magic to disperse the darkness and return the ghouls to normal. Zabro believes it's impossible for a human to overcome the Blaze King's magic, but Eleanor reveals her source is fused with the Demon King himself. Lei asks Gerard where he obtained half of the magic sword, but he refuses to answer and unsubscribes from life. After disposing of the wench, Misha heals Sasha, but collapses from exhaustion. Zeke asks how Melheis survived, but Anos reveals he switched bodies at the beginning of the challenge. Zeke attempts to unsubscribe from life as well, but Anos turns his pathetic life into an owl and forces him to talk. After interrogating him, they learn the humans of Azishion believe the recent war was caused by the Demon King. Melheis believes it would be wise to announce Avos Dilhevia was fake, and that he and the hero Kanan joined forces to defeat him. Once Eleanor and Zeshia arrive, Anos reveals the child of God may be among them. However, nothing is confirmed yet. Additionally, Melheis receives word from the leader of the Unitarians who wants to meet with Anos. His true identity is the Demon King of Tyranny's right hand, Shin Reglia. Apparently, he has been hiding and waiting for him in the Great Spirit Forest, Aharthurn. Lei reveals the man he fought had the other half of Misa's father's sword. When they combine the pieces, they realize it was the magic sword Shin wielded 2,000 years ago. Melheis tried to inform Anos earlier, but Anos had been busy renovating the underground city for the 10,000 Zeshias to live in. Anos announces their next move is to head to Aharthurn, where the Great Spirit Leno should be waiting as well. Upon arriving outside the forest of Aharthurn, Noose informs the students their assignment is to search for the rumors that will open a path into the forest. When the fields outside town become enshrouded in a mysterious fog, they'll come face to face with mischievous spirits. If they make them laugh, the spirits will open a path and guide them into the forest. While walking through town, they hear a disturbance and head over. An information broker is shoved to the ground for leaving 1-star reviews on this bummy man's restaurant. The girl claims he's scamming and ripping off travelers, but the man points out she's been spreading rumors about a fake forest called Aharthurn. They get ready to beat her to a pulp, but Mr. Saves a Ho steps in. The man orders his goons to deal with him too, but Anos' intimidation blows them all away before telling them to watch their mouths. Afterward, Anos tells the girl they're looking for a path into Aharthurn and asks if she knows it. When she excitedly asks if he believes her, he claims he's been there before. However, entering it again requires knowledge of its rumors. He offers her anything she wants in exchange. She asks to come with them instead. Apparently, she's lost all her memories, but for some reason she keeps hearing rumors about Aharthurn and knows it's where she's supposed to go. Anos takes a closer look, realizes she isn't a demon, and accepts. He then asks if she's heard any rumors about a strange mist. Apparently, a fog descends upon the meadows during an eclipse. Hearing that, Anos instructs Misha to gather Lei and the others before pulling the moon in front of the sun to create his own eclipse. After teleporting to the cotton fields, Sasha notices the girl wasn't that impressed with Anos' powers. The girl mentions he somehow feels familiar, like they met in the past. When asked her name, she thinks it's Lena. She explains the spirits laugh at things that are new and unfamiliar. Moments later, Lei and the others arrive, and Anos tells everyone to start cracking jokes. Eleanor asks Zeshia to do her best impression of Misha. She says, "Alright, time to do my best." Eleanor says Sasha next, and she immediately glazes the Demon King of Tyranny's immortal glizzy. Misa goes next, but accidentally rizzes up Lei in the process. The fan union arrives with souvenirs from town. They say they bought it because of the name, and when Anos asks what it is, they all shout the Club of Anos while all 8 of their water faucets break. The clumsy girl knocks it out of another's hand, but when Anos catches and returns it, they all squeal as their water fountains burst from joy. Suddenly, the spirits appear and start giggling. When Anos casually greets them, they stop and realize it's the Demon King. He asks if they'll lead him into the forest, and they happily agree. Anos asks Titi whether a demon named Shin Reglia made his home there, but the name means nothing to them. However, several of the Demon King's subordinates are currently at the school building. Misha asks if he thought she was a spirit, and he did. Suddenly, Titi approaches Lena and says she looks just like their mother, Leno. Sadly, she passed away about 2,000 years ago. Misa suddenly remembers Gerard's words, and they notice Misa smells like Leno. She mentions she was recently told Leno was her mother, surprising everyone. Misa then asks if they know who the father was, but they claim it's a secret the Spirit King ordered them to keep. At the center, they enter a giant tree and find a classroom inside. Giliciris comes around the corner and greets them. Anos calls him out for sending his lackeys after his subordinates, but he claims he was only following orders. Aegis arrives next, followed by Kaihilam, the other 3 members of the 4 evil royals. Lena hears bells ringing and wonders if it's Enunion. The ugly Enunion appears and welcomes them. He explains the building is a school for learning about spirits. Once inside, no one can leave until they graduate. Anyone who fails will be spirited away by the hidden wolf, Genel. To graduate, they must pass all 3 trials with an average score above 80 before earning the right to challenge the spirit trial. Passing that grants them an audience with the Spirit King. Anos makes one request, to take all 3 tests at once. Enunian agrees on the condition that they score an average of 90. Afterward, Giliciris informs them they have a week to study. Anos makes a bet with him. If he and all his subordinates pass, Giliciris must reveal the identity of the one above him. If Giliciris wins, he'll lay claims to Anos' source. Anos agrees, and they seal it with a zect. Sasha asks if he's sure, but he says they already have a guide. He asks Lena if she knows she's a spirit. Lena thinks so, since both the school and Enunian seem familiar. Anos uses magic to trigger her memories. Afterward, she leads them into the Forest of Books, the spirit's library. Anos immediately grabs 67 books and reads every one instantly. Sasha is outraged and doubts him, but Misha claims she managed to read half of them. Anos declares he'll turn them into fine scholars. While everyone took their time studying, Anos approached Lena. He says none of the books mention her, but one has a missing page about the love fairy Fran. He tries rewinding time on the torn page, but too much time has passed. On the day of the test, Enunian gives them 1 hour to finish. Anos notices the questions are easy, but sees Lena struggling and realizes they were given different questions. Giliciris suddenly asks if he'd like to check his subordinates' answers. He claims Enunian's demon eyes have been strengthened by the stone monuments, so any cheating would be exposed. Anos accuses him of tampering with the tests and gets up to inspect Zacia's paper. Giliciris says it's too bad since he never touched the tests, then snitches on Anos for cheating. However, Enunian declares Anos couldn't have cheated because he had already finished. Realizing he had to act, Anos summons something over the spirit forest. After the tests are collected, Enunian announces Zacia Bianca scored 150 out of 100, while everyone else earned a perfect score of 100. Giliciris is outraged and demands to see the test results. Looking them over, he points out every answer is wrong and someone even wrote, "I don't know." Enunian claims acknowledging one's own incompetence deserves a passing grade. Anos asks if he really thought wrong answers couldn't earn perfect scores. Before the magic sword of destruction, even a blank page becomes a score of 100. Giliciris calls it a dirty trick, but Anos rewinds time on the tests and reveals the questions had been rewritten. Anos demands to know if his new master is the Spirit King. It is, but Anos has no proof he tampered with the test. Thus, Enunian grants everyone present the right to take the spirit trial. Moments later, Melheis informs Anos they're prepared to hold the ceremony, announcing his reincarnation and exposing the false king, Avos Dilhevia. Anos orders him to let the others handle it and stay out of sight. In their next trial, they must choose one of 20 staircases leading upward. However, only 5 lead to the Spirit King. Once a staircase is chosen, upward stairs continue the trial, while downward stairs return them to the start. The others begin worrying they won't pass if they pick correctly, and wonder if they can pass the baton to Anos. Instead, Anos transforms every one of them into himself. When Enunian asks why, Anos claims it's to ensure there's no foul play. He'll reveal everyone's true forms once the doors are chosen. Both Anos, Lei, and Misa choose the correct staircase, while the Fan Union girls pick the wrong ones. Suddenly, Lena appears before Anos, saying she chose the wrong door, but remembers a hidden passage leading upward. Anos informs everyone and orders them to find it. She isn't sure if she's taken the spirit trials before, but feels she's reached the top once already. On the next floor, they reach another staircase and continue upward. Before reaching the top, Lena reveals another hidden passage, and they step inside. Upon arriving, Lena begins tearing up, saying she's been there more than once. They discover a gravesite and walk over. After picking a flower, she realizes she had something she wanted to tell the Spirit King. Anos looks over and orders whoever is hiding to reveal themselves. Giste appears and apologizes to Her Majesty. She explains Kaihelam, the king of curses, had been spirited away by the hidden wolf Genel. Lena doesn't understand and asks if the one before them was Kaihelam. Apparently, he shared two personalities and two sources with his lover, Giste. It wasn't because of the trials, but an order from the Spirit King, and Gerard was forced into his service to recover the king of curses. Anos asks where Gerard obtained half of the magic sword, but she says the Spirit King gave it to him as bait. When Anos asks if Aegis is involved, she explains he's on a rescue mission of his own. As for the Spirit King's identity, she doesn't know, only that he's protected the spirits since Leno vanished. When she describes his appearance, Anos immediately realizes it was the man disguised as Avos during the magic sword tournament. She then begs him to save Kaihelam, and he happily agrees. Meanwhile, Lei informs Anos he's moving ahead. He swoops Misa off her feet and leaps upward. Upon reaching the clouds, the sky turns dark as a lightning bolt summons the hidden wolf Genel. Suddenly, it announces they're permitted to pass and has no intention of giving them a trial. After moving on, they reach a castle and head inside. Once the lights come on, the Spirit King reveals himself. Lei asks if he's at odds with the Demon King, but Enyunian informs him that if he wants answers, he must first complete his trial. He must battle the Spirit King and split his mask. At the same time, Anos and Aegis arrive at Genel's trial. Aegis offers to join forces with the Demon King to rescue those spirited away. Anos accepts, places a barrier around Lena, and moves forward. As the trial begins, they battle Genel, but Anos suddenly notices Lena has disappeared. He realizes Genel made contact the instant she vanished, meaning everyone taken must be inside its astral body. Anos closes his eyes, sees its true form, and captures it with his magic. After a spanking, Genel grants them permission to proceed. Since Genel never noticed their plan, Aegis offers to rescue Lena and the others himself. During Lei's battle, the Spirit King gains the upper hand and seals several of his sources. Lei recognizes his fighting style and asks if they've crossed paths before. At that moment, a spirit traps Lei in a spell. The Spirit King charges in for the kill, but Misa stops him with a spell. She begins awakening into her true form and separates them into another space. After a few moments of rizzing each other up, they return and resume the trial. The spirit summons vines to stop Lei, but he cuts through them while Misa blocks the interference. Lei charges in, but his spirit sword shatters. He realizes they truly have fought before. Once the sword breaks, the Spirit King begins taking heavier swings, assuming Lei can no longer wield it. However, Lei claims they converted their love into magic power, the hero's secret technique. With that, he claims victory and splits the Spirit King's Diddy mask. However, the Spirit King traps Lei in a spell before rushing toward Misa and stabbing her through the chest. Meanwhile, Anos enters the palace but is greeted by Gilasiris. His spirit trial is to defeat Gilasiris while only drawing power from the stone monuments. Gilasiris activates an ancient magic circle, claiming it can amplify any magical power. He fires a blast, but Anos absorbs the monuments and redirects them. Gilasiris claims Anos only has one monument left while he still has two, then fires another blast that sends shockwaves through the palace. However, Anos asks if he really thought doubling his magic power could match his own. He explains ancient magic was for the weak, which is why their ancestors abandoned it. Anos then crushes Gilasiris' source and annihilates him. When Anos catches up to Lei, Lei informs him the Spirit King was definitely Shin. He tried hiding his swordsmanship, but Lei still recognized it and realized he'd grown even stronger. Suddenly, Sasha arrives and informs Anos about the announcement taking place in Dilhade. Avos Dilhevia declares the recent peace treaty with the humans was a foolish mistake. He calls on all royals to rally behind the Demon King and orders the filthy hybrids onto their knees. The 7 demon emperors appear and declare he is the rightful Demon King of tyranny. He then orders every royal to hunt down and kill Anos Voldigoad. Upon realizing it wasn't the Spirit King, Anos teleports in to confront Misa in her true form. Spirits embody the rumors and traditions they're born from, but she was born from both human and demon lore. Anos realizes Zeke's game was meant to hide the truth in plain sight. Being the Demon King of tyranny granted her the demonic eyes of destruction. She was a pure-blood demon, yet also half spirit and half demon. Her true motive for attacking Melheis was to delay the magical broadcast. If word spread that Avos Dilhevia was fake, she wouldn't be able to exist. As for the Spirit King, he wanted to endanger Misa and forcibly awaken her true form. However, Anos knows she's after the magic sword of destruction and needs more time to obtain it. The 7 demon emperors blast him with magic, but Anos just laughs at their pitiful performance. He tells them the true demon king will soon return before teleporting away. The fan union arrives and asks if Misa really betrayed them. However, Anos explains that isn't true. From the beginning, half of Misa was created from the rumors and traditions surrounding Avos Dilhevia. Lay blames himself for creating the false demon king in an attempt to save both humans and demons. Suddenly, the room is engulfed in vines as Enunion declares no one may harm Lady Leno's child. When Anos refuses to comply, Enunion claims all violence is prohibited in this space. But nothing could contain the type of violence Anos was capable of, so he simply creates an exit for everyone. Once they reach the lower floors, one of Anos's subordinates from 2,000 years ago appears, but Aegis intercepts him. He offers to handle things there and tells Anos to return to Dilhade. After leaving Aegis behind, they reunite with Lena, who summons Tithi to open an exit. Upon returning to Dilhade, Elio, a royal who led an army during the war, steps out. When Anos appears before them, they immediately kneel. Elio informs him that few demons still remain loyal. Sasha asks about the 7 demon emperors, but he explains demon tradition forces them to serve whoever is recognized as the demon king of tyranny. He also reveals the city has been engulfed in Demera, a spell that implants Avos Dilhevia's will. It lets royals drain magic from hybrids, and some have already gone berserk. Meanwhile, Emilia frantically runs through the streets in fear for her life. A month earlier, she had been a purebred royal, but Anos turned her into a half-breed for hurting his mother. Suddenly, one of her former students lands an intense backshot. Emilia insists she was a royal, but they claim impersonating one is an offense against the demon king. They call her a filthy mutt, drain her magic, and tell her to be grateful since it'll nourish the royals, then give her top-tier birth control. They continue kicking and stomping her until she wonders why she's being treated like this. When the man declares common lowlifes born outside nobility deserve nothing but pain, she's reminded of her own words when she slaughtered the fan union to reach Anos's mother. As they continue draining her life, Isabella steps in and demands they stop. They recognize her as Anos's mother, drop Emilia, and start moving toward her. However, Guster flies in with a dropkick and obliterates their ugly faces. As Isabella rushes over, Emilia asks why she's helping her, but Isabella says it isn't right to kick someone down for being a half-breed. She notices another fireball flying toward them, pushes Isabella aside, and takes the hit herself. After Guster gets beaten down, the man declares they'll rip them limb from limb and deliver every piece to Anos. Suddenly, Anos appears behind them, pulls them into the sky, and strangles them with webs of blood. After repeating their threat toward his parents, he disperses their bodies into 1,000,000 pieces. After returning home, Anos tells Isabella he'll handle everything. Lena looks around, but Anos reassures her the house is protected by a barrier. Isabella approaches Emilia, thanks her for saving her, and offers her a place to stay. Emilia respectfully declines, but Anos tells her to accept since the chaos outside won't settle for a few days. After Emilia introduces herself, Isabella offers to make her a snack. Guster looks at all the baddies Anos has brought home since he was 1 month old and says he's proud. Sasha thinks he's a fruit cup, but Anos reveals he placed the protective spell Alto on him, meant to empower the powerless. Even without knowing it, Guster still rushed outside like a maniac to save his wifey. Sasha asks if Avos was already the demon king of tyranny, what stopped her from stealing the magic sword of destruction. Anos explains there are no rumors or traditions surrounding it. He rarely draws it, and everyone who's seen it has died. However, there is a legend that the demon palace Delsgate belongs to the demon king of tyranny. She must be trying to obtain the sword by claiming the palace with her magic. That would also mean Avos Dilhevia can't appear anywhere that isn't written into the lore. Eleanor suggests the underground city where the Zashias live since it was built after Anos' reincarnation. All 10,000 Zashias are already there, so any invasion would be met by an army. Before departing, Anos asks the fan union to stay behind and protect his parents. He tells Emilia their time is running short and to say what she needs to say. She steps forward and once again asks him to take her life. Anos thought she'd ask to become a royal again, and she wonders if that's possible. He confirms it is, but says it won't turn back time. Soon, Dilhade will be ruled by the royals, and he asks if that would still make her happy. After living as a half-blood, would she still see the city as beautiful? Did she still believe in the beauty of nobility, or still yearn for royal status? If her answer is still yes, he'll restore her now and send her to Avos Dilhevia. Emilia says nothing and breaks into tears. Anos turns, thanks her for protecting his mother, and departs for Delsgate. They arrive at the underground city where the Zashias made their home. At its center lies a room with a magic circle leading to the underground dungeon beneath the original demon palace. Once inside, guards approached and tried to diddle through their disguise, but Anos's aura overpowered it. As they passed, Anos noticed Revest's Misfit badge and wondered if it was a trap. Misha noticed his anger and reassured him it was all right. Anos reaches for him, and when the hag asks what was wrong, Revest suggests sweeping the area again. Menno pointed out footsteps and offered to stay behind, allowing Anos to reveal himself once they left. Relieved they were safe, Menno explained most royals, including Melheis, were under Demera, while the hybrids in white uniforms were imprisoned as magical nourishment. Anos had two priorities: finding the masked demon calling himself the Spirit King, Nusgalia possessing Erdomade's body, and Avos Dilhevia, then using the ultimate time magic Revlon in the treasury. He needed to discover how Leno died, the Spirit King's identity, and how Misa came to exist. When spirit and demon blood mix, half of the new being's source forms from rumors and traditions. Misa was born from the rumors of Avos Dilhevia, spread by the hero Kanon 2,000 years ago. Lei found it impossible since she only had 15 years of memories, but Anos believed there was a reason for that and why Shin turned against him. The connection was Leno, and her death likely started everything. Traveling 2,000 years into the past required too much magic to hide, so they needed a distraction. Revest volunteered and asked Anos to hit him with attack magic. Menno refused, but Revest insisted it needed to look convincing. Anos then burned him from the inside and turned him into a cooked roach. When guards arrived, Menno told them Anos Voldigoad was heading upstairs. The hag ordered her to follow and heal Revest later. After they left, Anos apologized and explained he couldn't heal him yet. He was surprised Revest resisted Demera, despite once being a strict royalist, but the demon king of tyranny he believed in would never prey on the weak. Inside the treasury, Anos activated forbidden magic. Misha and Sasha amplified it, while Lei, Zishia, and Eleanor synchronized with the Zishias to supply more power. Using the guardian god of time's scythe, Anos cut open a path into the past. They arrived 2,000 years in the past, shortly after Anos sacrificed himself. The rumor of a hearthurn in this era claimed a hazy moon would create mist over Lake Holy, and tossing a holy light candy into the water would open the path. Sasha questioned why he didn't simply use magic to find Shin and Leno, but Anos avoided drawing attention with too much power. Since he was already dead in this era, Anos had Lei conceal his source with his magic. In town, everyone celebrated Canon's return after defeating the Demon King. At a stall selling holy light candy, Anos gave Eleanor money to buy one for everyone. After buying the vendor out, he gave the final candy to Zashia for free. Anos smiled until he saw Leno and Shin approaching. Leno rushed toward the candy, but Shin stopped her, saying chasing after it was a liability. When he tried removing his mask, she reminded him he was a filthy demon, but Shin claimed he'd cut anyone down. The vendor apologized for selling out. Leno got angry at Shin for being a snail, but he simply said guarding her came first. Anos thought they were already cracking, though Sasha disagreed. Zashia offered Leno 2 candies, and Leno gave her cookies in return. Zashia asked the depressing hoodlum if they were done fighting, and Leno reassured her they were best friends. Shin questioned it, but Leno said guarding her meant guarding their friendship too. Afterward, Anos revealed they were Leno and Shin. He cloaked everyone in invisibility and warned them not to get close since Shin had a habit of headshotting people with his sword. When Anos asked Lena if Shin felt familiar, she wasn't sure, only knowing something bad was coming. After they entered the forest, Anos had Misha throw in the candy. Leno entered and found it withered, while Tithi explained the spirits were being devoured. Suddenly, divine beasts appeared. Misha noticed the divine mutts could see through their invisibility. Shin drew his sword and slaughtered them. When Anos suggested helping quietly, Sasha doubted she could hold back. He let her feel his meat stick and guided her into casting a lighter spell, but his demonic immortal bone caused her to lose control, and she erased the beasts with her demonic eyes of destruction. Leno noticed them and called out. Anos introduced himself as a Noshu Poltikol before revealing the group. When she noticed they were demons, he claimed they were traveling entertainers, basically bums. When she saw the candy girls, Anos pushed Sasha forward for a demonstration. She used her demonic eyes and performed her Demon King of Tyranny impression. Leno laughed but said Anoshu looked more like Anos than she did. Anoshu introduced his character as the Demon King's little jit. Leno wondered how they crossed the Demon King's wall, and Anoshu explained Misha breached it. Misha even claimed she was stronger than the 4 evil royals. Shin stared into Anoshu's eyes and repeated that he was only a traveling entertainer. Leno smiled, happy to see humans, spirits, and demons together. Shin asked why they came, and Anoshu explained Lena was a spirit who lost her memories, and they were told Leno was her mother. Leno admitted she didn't know every spirit and asked to speak with Anoshu alone. She revealed Lena was the love fairy Fran. She wandered searching for her memories, but remembering her true identity would cause her to disappear. They first needed to help her remember what love was. Suddenly, a divine beast attacked Eleanor, but Lei protected her. Without his sword, Anoshu asked Shin for a magic sword and tossed it to him. After Lei defeated the beast, Shin questioned why someone that skilled never fought in the war. Lei said he disliked war, causing Shin to offer him the sword for his stay if he could land a scratch on him. They reached the inner part of the forest, and Leno worried Nusgalia was still around. Tithi flew over and informed her their grandmother would soon vanish. When they arrived, Leno's grandmother appeared, immediately sensed a strange presence, and asked for his name. When Anoshu introduced himself, she revealed herself as Migalonov, the great tree spirit. She granted humans the wisdom to survive great wars, and gave each of them a leaf that would support them in the coming fight. However, Anoshu had no need for the help she could provide. She explained that when a spirit is close to disappearing, they act against their own rumors and traditions. She was meant to grant humans wisdom to defeat demons, yet she chose to give them wisdom to coexist with demons instead. As her leaves began falling, she apologized to Leno and told her that one day she would face the same choice. She would either follow her rumors and traditions or betray them to protect something precious. It was the destiny of every spirit. Before disappearing, she told them to hold on to what they cherished in their hearts. Shin tried comforting Leno, but the shady man had no words. Leno told him not to worry, explaining she doesn't cry during sadness because her tears become spirits. She believed tears of joy were better suited for when a child is born. Suddenly, her tears sprouted into a new tree. A new rumor was born about a peaceful school where an old grandpa named Enyunian was the instructor. After Leno and Shin left, Anoshu ordered Lei and Misha to watch them while he checked something out. They arrived at the Forest of Books, where Enyunian revealed they only had 100 books. Anoshu instructed Zacia to search for a green book containing information about the love fairy Fran. Meanwhile, Leno asked Shin what he planned to do afterward. Shin believed there was no reason to live in an era without his master, so he planned to unsubscribe from life and follow him into the future. Hearing this, Leno was glad the gods were still hiding in the forest, so he could remain around longer. In another space, Leno presented Shin with tear flowers that absorbed her previous tears. If they bore fruit without withering, they could turn rumors and traditions into spirits. She transformed a drop of water into a watering can and asked him to water them. When the flowers began withering, she told him they needed love and asked him to smile, but Shin admitted he knew nothing about love. When she told him to think of Anos, he explained he served him because he gave him salvation, not because of love, but gratitude. Suddenly, Tithi and the others arrived to play with Shin. Leno announced that whoever stayed away from Shin for 1 minute could get anything they wanted from him. As they all ran away, Shin decided to sit it out. She mocked him, saying the Demon King's right-hand man was a wuss. Offended, Shin immediately got serious and captured every spirit within seconds, even revealing Genel. He asked if he was finished, but Leno said there was still one more. Suddenly, Enyunian informed Leno she had a guest. The Blaze King Erdamade had information about the gods. When they met, Erdamade revealed he knew Nusgalia's location. Apparently, Nus approached him and planned to use Leno to create the child of God who would slay the Demon King 2,000 years later. Shin drew his blade and demanded to know how he responded. When Erdamade admitted he showed interest, Shin immediately cut him apart. Erdamade claimed the Demon King was too perfect and incapable of flaws. What he needed were enemies if he wanted to become a true Demon King. As Erdamade laughed, Anos told the others he was immature. Ever since Anos spanked him, he had been provoking him ever since. Erdamade declared he would always remain the Demon King's enemy, but was never an ally of the gods. He wasn't even sure the Child of God could match Anos. He wanted them to go all out and stop the Child of God's birth. If the Demon King's right hand and the Great Spirit couldn't defeat it, then it would truly be a worthy opponent. Shin concluded he'd defeat it with ease and demanded to be taken to Nusgalia. Upon arriving, Shin found it strange that he couldn't sense Nus's presence, but Erdamade explained that gods could only appear under certain conditions. He then placed a curse on Leno, declaring her life would end once the final grain of sand fell. When Shin shattered the hourglass, Erdamade explained Nus would surely appear if he attempted to kill her. He believed even if Leno died, he'd still be satisfied since she was the only chosen womb. Shin called that the mindset of the weak, freed Leno, and stabbed Erdamade through the chest. He declared Anos wasn't weak enough to sacrifice sacrifice her just to save himself. Erdemade began rising and laughing maniacally. He revealed he had lent his body to the injured Noose Gallia and planned to force him out by killing his host. Whether he or Leno died meant nothing to him. After the diddler emerged, Shin approached with his blade while divine beasts surrounded him. However, Shin tore through them, followed Nos, and began drawing the god-killing sword. Nos noticed Shin gained a human-like soul after being taken in by Anos. However, he claimed the emptiness in his heart would never disappear because his source was incapable of love. Leno fired lightning into his ugly face and declared he was wrong. Noose explained Shin's source wasn't that of a demon, but a magic sword. Shin Reglia, the god-killing sword. Eons ago, demons created him to battle the gods before he eventually took a demon's body. He was incapable of understanding love. However, those who controlled order could grant it to him. If he raised the child of God born from Leno's womb, Noose would grant him that. Shin immediately refused, removed his head, and claimed he had no need for love. After stabbing him through the throat, Shin declared he would serve Anos for eternity, along with the emptiness in his heart. After the battle, Leno apologized to Shin and offered to show him what love truly was. Days later, Shin spent his time sparring with Lei. Leno comes over and asks him to water the flowers with her. Shin declines, saying sparring was better than watering flowers that'll just dry up. She was outraged and called him a meathead. Lei advises him to just say he'll finish up soon so she'll shut her face and cheer up. When Shin asks for a bit of patience while he spanks him, Leno immediately smiles and wishes him luck. Afterwards, Shin commends Lei's rapid growth. He was like a completely different swordsman than when they first met. Lei decides it was time to return his sword and charges in. They dodge each other's strikes, and when they cross blades, Shin notices something different. After they separate, Shin gets serious and disables the magic around them. He goes in for the kill, but Lei blocks it. However, when Shin steps away, Lei gets sliced up like a UK street crime. Shin explains the bladeless sword, Catanalios, doesn't exist in the present and constantly slices through moments in the past. Lei asks if that move worked on the hero Kanan, but Shin admits he created it after he'd already lost. Afterwards, Tithi predicts the flowers would wither again from this bum's depressing aura. The moment Shin waters them, they immediately die tragic deaths, but Leno just smiles. Shin wonders why she wasn't scolding him like before. Leno says that was her fault since she knew nothing about him before, but now she could tell he was doing his best. To her, he was showering them with love. Shin frowns and continues killing more flowers. Anos asks Misha if anything out of the ordinary happened, but everything was the same. However, Tithi mentions they saw a headless demon running around the other day. Anos figures it must have been the Blaze King and asks which direction he went. They follow him out of a hearthurn and back to Dilhade. During this era in Delsgade, there was someone who knew everything about the world, the goddess of creation Militia, the order that created the world and helped him build the wall 2,000 years ago. He was sure she could locate Erdemade, though Misha was surprised there were good gods. Moments later, demon guards capture a young boy who happened to be the seventh in line to the Azeshion throne, Igareth. He was a hostage Anos released before his death. The men drag him into a coliseum and beat the crap out of him for the families they lost during the war. The kid begs for mercy, but the man demands to know what the human king did when demons pleaded. They burn children alive, using their cries of agony to lure demon troops into massacres. He stomps on the boy's hand until he screams in torment. The man declares he'll die the same way his son did and burns him alive. However, the flames suddenly go out as Anos arrives. The man questions why a demon would save a human, saying the kid was a blood relative of the hero Jerga, who slaughtered many of their families. Anoshu tells Debadora if Igareth had murdered his son, he'd understand his vengeance, but Igareth never harmed anyone. He asks if the demon king Anos ever gave them permission to execute the innocent. Fed up with the talk, Debadora launches simultaneous attack spells, but they do nothing. He asks why he didn't use anti-magic, but Anoshu says the hatred weighing on them was stronger than those spells. If they continued hating and killing, their descendants would suffer the same fate. That hatred would pass through generations and ruin Dilhade. Debadora ignores him and summons a massive Jo Graze, but Anoshu instantly dispels it. Recognizing his demonic eyes, Debadora starts tearing up at the sight of his king. Anoshu plays ignorant and says he was only a traveling entertainer. The men kneel and admit they couldn't follow the path he wished for them. The people who murdered their families were still beyond that wall. As they cried, Anoshu tells them to meet again in a wonderful world 2,000 years from now. They enter the demon palace and find the magic sword of destruction already activated. Normally, drawing it would trigger the order of time and send them back to the present, but since it had already appeared in this era, things were different. If Anos could wield Venuznor here, he could rewrite history without affecting the future. Igareth suddenly wakes up from Anos Aura farming and explains that monsters wiped out his group on the way home, forcing him to return here alone. Glad he survived, Anos sits him down and reveals he came from 2,000 years in the future To truly save him, he must kill him now and resurrect him at this point in history. Reborn through the magic sword of destruction, he'd become an existence even the god of time couldn't detect. Afterward, Anos tasks him with spreading the rumor of the demon king of tyranny, Avos Dilhevia, who would appear 2,000 years later. Igoreth kneels as Anos entrusts him with saving the other demon lord who bears a sad fate. He accepts the mission and prepares to meet Anos again in the future. After Igoreth disappears, a love poem addressed to the demon king appears. Anos touches it, notices a spell surrounding it, and realizes they must wait until nightfall. Once night falls, the message appears beneath the moonlight, revealing the Blaze Death King's location. Misha finds it strange, since whoever wrote it had to know Anos was there. Anos believes it was Militia, since she always watches over the world. They arrive at the cemetery where Anos grows emotional at the sight of his fallen soldiers. Their loyalty led them to early graves, so he became stronger to live up to their expectations, even if it meant being labeled as a tyrant. Anos ruled as the Demon King, but no amount of power could bring them back. He clenches his fist, tells them they had finally found peace and to be proud. He wishes they could have seen the peaceful town together in the future. Misha lights up the cemetery with her magic and asks him to smile. In peaceful times, she was sure they'd have wanted to see him smiling. Anos thanks them and swears their sacrifices won't be in vain. Erdemade was impressed that Shin dispatched the heavenly god Nusgalia so easily. Though mortally wounded, he was still hiding within the forest of a Harthurn. Anos and Misha overheard his plan to usurp the heavenly god and headed back to the forest. The hero Kanan explained the humans' plan to kill Anos when he reincarnated. He knew Anos could handle it, but asked Shin if he really wanted to force him into fighting humans forever. Kanan planned to become the fake demon king himself and wanted Shin as his right hand, but Shin flat out refused to kneel before anyone else. Drawing his blade, he declared no matter the scheme, Lord Anos would overcome it. However, Kanan didn't want Anos carrying every burden alone. Since they couldn't stop the cycle of hatred, his only choice was solitary slumber. He planned to die in Anos's place 2,000 years later to end the conflict. They promised that in their next lives, they'd become friends. Shin sheathed his blade and claimed the plan would fail. Leno noticed Shin seemed less anguished than before. Kanan believed it was because of Anos, and noticed Shin no longer carried the same murderous intent. Leno proudly claimed she'd been teaching him about love. Kanan admitted he never expected the Great Spirit Mother to fall in love either. Realizing she wanted to crack, Leno chased after Shin and confessed. Shin reminded her he was incapable of love, but she had filled the emptiness inside him, and he was grateful for the time they'd shared. However, those days had come to an end. He'd slain the final divine beast, Gwen. Nusgalia no longer had the strength to threaten her, and Kanan would soon spread the rumors of the fake Demon King. Before that, Shin will return to Dilhade and begin his reincarnation to follow his Demon King. When he apologized, Leno complained it wasn't fair since Anos had already had him for many years. Shin asked what she'd like before he left. Her answer was to marry him, and he happily agreed. At their wedding, everyone in the forest attended. They both wished Anos could have been there, unaware Anoshu was their beloved king all along. After exchanging vows, Shin Reglia was declared the Spirit King, and finally permitted to kiss the bride. That night, Shin thanked Leno once more for loving him and teaching him what love was. Tithi suddenly appeared, told them to crack on their wedding night, then immediately retreated. Before bed, Leno asked Shin to tell her how he first met Anos. During the Great War, Shin had only recently obtained a physical body and spent his time bullying peasants, yet every victory felt empty. One day, he challenged the Demon King of Tyranny. He unleashed 100 swords, but none came close to touching him. When Shin asked what made him so powerful, Anos answered it was his desire to protect those he loved. Anos then asked Shin the same question, but when he had no answer, he simply reached out and offered him a home by his side. It was then Shin realized he'd been searching for a master worthy of wielding him, the evil god-killing sword. To repay Anos's kindness, he chose to serve as his right hand. Days later, Shin received word from Enunion that Leno had collapsed. After examining her, Enunion revealed she was pregnant. Spirits and demons weren't supposed to have children together, yet somehow they had. They now had 10 months and 10 days to spread the child's rumors, or it would be aborted. Leno thanked Shin for giving her his love and this miracle before asking him to name the baby. If it was a boy, Gord. If it was a girl, Misa. When Groot brought over a green book, Leno tore out the page about the love fairy Fran and told him not to lose it. It contained a spirit spell that would reunite them in 2,000 years. She told Shin to go, promising she'd wait for him with their child. Shin promised to return before setting off. After Shin returned to Dilhade to prepare for reincarnation, Enunion pointed out Leno's lore declared she was the mother of all spirits. Giving birth to a half-demon would contradict those rumors and cause her to disappear. If Shin learned the truth in the future, it would bring him unimaginable grief. Leno accepted that fate and only wished for him to keep loving her. Suddenly, the door shut behind her as Noose laughed that even the evil god-killing sword had learned to love. Meanwhile, Tithi warned Shin that Leno was in danger. Noose revealed the love Shin longed for, the love Leno experienced, and the child she carried all existed because of the heavenly godfather's order. Shin's body had merely been used as a vessel and was just the stepdaddy. He revealed a page describing Avos Dilhevia, the half-spirit whose source was born from the fake demon king's rumors and lore. Nous then activated a magic circle and began forcibly extracting the baby from her womb. Its source and magic were still too weak. If she did nothing, the baby would disappear. With the last of her strength, she created the Spirit of Time and ordered it to place the baby into slumber until the Demon King arrived 2,000 years later to save her. Noose mocked her, asking why she'd save a child that wasn't even Shin's, but Shin suddenly impaled him through the skull. After annihilating the diddler, Shin begged her for forgiveness, but Leno thanked him and apologized for lying. The baby wasn't his, and she never truly taught him love. She explained the child would sleep for 2,000 years, and if she ever threatened the peace Anos created, Shin had permission to kill her himself. Shin refused, swearing to protect the child no matter what. Even if she betrayed the Demon King, he'd spread fictional rumors to protect her. After Leno faded away, Shin drove his blade into the earth and placed the tear flower upon it as her grave. After returning, everyone breaks down in tears, but Anos declares they're going to correct that tragedy. On the way up, an announcement declares a white uniform hybrids will be executed unless Anos arrives at the arena. Misha and Sasha volunteer to go in his place. Anos gives them magic tools that distort perception so they can infiltrate the execution site. He tasks Eleanor and Zishia with rescuing the other students, then asks Lena to accompany him to meet the Spirit King. Misha and Sasha arrive disguised in royal red uniforms. Sasha sees only one teacher and Melheis and suggests making their move, but the other 6 emperors arrive, forcing Misha to stop her. Melheis points to a girl and declares she'll be the first to die. Suddenly, Aramis, a third-year student, volunteers to take her place. As a reincarnated hero, he says he's a far more fitting enemy than an ordinary hybrid. Nihid praises his bravery, then whispers something that catches his attention. Meanwhile, Anos asks Menoe if she found his 3 targets. She couldn't locate Nous, but the Spirit King was in the throne room and Avos Dilhevia was in the ceremony hall. The captured students were scattered throughout the castle. Anos cloaks her in invisibility and orders her to guide Eleanor and Zishia to them. Suddenly, the hag from before sees through the invisibility and attacks. Lei reveals himself and she realizes he's the hero Kanan. He deflects her blade and stabs her through the heart as she wonders why he possesses Lord Shin's magic sword. Anos appears before the guards, binds them in demonic chains, and petrifies them. He realizes even demons from 2,000 years ago were more vulnerable to Demara's brainwashing. Anos sends Lei to the ceremony hall while he heads for the throne room. Before entering, he tells Lena to wait outside until the time is right. Inside, Anos greets Avos Dilhevia by name. She removes her mask, shocked he recognized it was her and not the Spirit King. When Lei arrives, she asks if the one headed to the ceremony hall was a fake, but Lei reveals he simply split his sources. Misa shows a captured student and asks if he was truly Igorith from 2,000 years ago. Anos accuses her of stalling to steal the magic sword of destruction, but she immediately orders his execution. Sasha suggests neutralizing all 7 demon emperors at once to save the students. Misha agrees it's possible with her demonic eyes of destruction, but it'll take too long. Sasha decides to go on a complete rampage instead, while Misha buys time. Aramis exposes Avos Dilhevia as a fraud, declaring the true Demon King would never discriminate. Nihid asks if he's ready to die, but Aramis says he fulfilled his mission and had no regrets. Nihid fires a Geo Graze, then suddenly agrees with him and redirects it to the 7 emperors. Melheis declares rebellion against the Demon King means death, but Nihid reveals himself as Debidora. For 2,000 years, his true king has always been Anos Voldigoad. His words leave Melheis with a gunshot wound to the head before ordering Gaios to execute the white uniforms. Instead, the girl first meant to die blasts him with Geo Graze. More royal students appear and light up all 7 emperors like O-block savages with countless Geo Grazes. Melheis insists it doesn't matter that they're demons reincarnated from the mythical age, but Aramis blasts him away. After handing Aramis a magic sword, Debidora never imagined the boy he once tried to kill would fight beside him. Together they charge, but Melheis counters. Before he can finish them, Misha and Sasha summon Delzgade and freeze all 7 emperors into ice cats with its amplified power. Watching everything fall apart, Misa reveals she still has countless hybrid hostages, with only 5 minutes left to live. She asks how Anos plans to save them all at once. He already had a plan. Debadora asks the fake king if she knows who Anoshu Poltikol is. It was the code word known only to their allies. Anos orders every demon loyal to him to obey Eleanor's commands, while those with weak stamina are protected from Demera. Lei shatters the spheres and moves to behead Misa, but misses. She realizes he changed the past, yet claims she still knows everything that will happen. She asks the hero Canon to end her with the spirit god sword. He looks to Anos, who gives him permission to end her sorrowful fate. As Lei charges, Genel appears between them. Anos blocks it and is instantly teleported before the Spirit King. The Spirit King removes his mask and admits he betrayed Anos. Seeing Del Toros, the Sword of Severance, Anos asks what's his reason to fight. Shin realizes Anos already knows the truth. Anos confirms it and asks why he'd raise his blade against him. He explains he planned to kill Avos Dilhevia while still saving Misa. He begs for mercy in his final moments and challenges Anos one last battle. No one but Anos could kill him. During his journey, he heard rumors of a woman kind to spirits who always smiled. If she had never fallen in love with him, if he had never sought love, maybe she'd still be alive. For 2,000 years, he lived in disgrace to atone. Kneeling before his king, he asks for one final mercy, end his pitiful life. Anos takes the sword, thanks Shin for enduring 2,000 years of hell, and says he's proud of him. Remembering their promise, he throws the blade back and orders Shin to take his right arm with him. If this is truly the end, he should reclaim his dignity and rest in peace. Believing it the greatest gift he could receive, Shin thanks him and unleashes the technique he spent 2,000 years perfecting. Yet he can't cut Anos at all. Anos shatters Del Toros and tells him the reason. He tried to strike as a demon and not as a sword. 2,000 years ago, Anos would have granted him the death he sought, but in this era, he has a father who loves him. If his own father were trapped in the deepest pit of hell, Anos would never tell him to die with dignity. Even if he had no way to save him, he'd still want him to live. He orders Shin to live and asks if he'd rob Misa of her father. Realizing the truth, Shin breaks down, and Anos reaches out to pull him from the darkness. Meanwhile, Avos fires a Geograze at Lei, but he slices straight through it. She asks if he's really capable of killing her. Lei says he has to, since he's the one who spread the false rumors of the Demon King. Looking back, he realizes that plan was flawed, and the price of his twisted justice was Avos Dilhevia. However, she argues that if she never existed, Misa would have never been born. She says it's a shame since she had feelings for him, but Lei calls her a fraud. Those feelings were never hers, and Misa was still alive inside. The necklace he gave Misa suddenly begins glowing and synchronizes with him, giving him the power to break free. Lei declares it as proof Misa is still alive. He rushes in to kill her, but she counters and destroys one of his sources. She places a curse on him, but he dispels it and charges again. Suddenly, Nuskalia calls out to the spirit god sword, Evan's mana, ordering it to calm itself. Avos activates a spell and chains bind Lei in place. She explains the words of a god are absolute to a divine sword. News arrives and reveals he destroyed every source Lei split and sent out. Avos fires a Geograze to finish him, but it's instantly deflected as Anos and Shin arrive. News declares he'll take everything from Anos, but Anos immediately backhands him across the room. He orders the diddler to prostrate himself whenever he speaks to him. Avos asks to fight Anos, but he orders her to go play with Lei instead. Turning back to Naus, Anos says it's finally time he learns what fear feels like. Nous claims he's invincible and unleashes his Diddy form. He explains most of the spells engraved into Delzgade have been overwritten by Avos. Without the god of destruction's power, Anos has no way to kill a god. Even if he reclaimed that power, destroying him would send the world down a path of destruction. Anos just laughs. He tells Nous he wouldn't even stand a chance against his right hand. Shin thanks Anos for allowing him to avenge his late wife. Anos orders him to destroy Nous without worrying about the consequences. Shin immediately stabs him through the chest, but is engulfed in divine flames. Nous summons a divine blade and slashes Shin across the chest, causing the torn page from the spirit book to fall to the ground. As Shin reaches for it, Nous impales his hand, and Lena suddenly feels it. The moment Avos Dilhevia was born, Shin's duty had long been over. His only sin was never thanking the gods for their so-called miracle. However, Lena appears before him and reveals herself as Leno, the great spirit mother. She declares it was never a divine miracle because Shin's heart truly learned to love. Turning toward him, she apologizes for making him wait 2,000 years. Nous mocks her for borrowing the Love Fairy's body for such a short reunion. While Shin keeps his divine sword occupied, Leno summons countless spirits to distract him. Nous cooks Titi alive, but the other spirits rush in to help. As he starts cooking everyone else, Migalanov appears, blows out the flames, and reveals she also borrowed Fran's body to return. She tells Leno not to worry because they'll gladly follow wherever she goes. Passing on the rest of her power, a symbol appears in Leno's hand and amplifies everyone's magic. The spirit Lignon coats Shin's blade in spirit water, and Shin charges straight through Nous. Using Genel's lightning, Nous teleports away and closes his eyes, only to see multiple Shins surrounding him. He cuts them all down, but the real Shin appears beneath him and drives his blade into the ground. Realizing one divine sword isn't enough, Nous launches several more like a bootleg Gilgamesh. Shin lunges upward and stabs him through the chest again. As Nous chants a divine order to destroy him, Shin unleashes the God Slasher and shatters his divine source into 1,000,000 pieces. Drawing the God-killing sword, Shin sends the Diddy God straight into the void. Meanwhile, Lei is getting folded by his girlfriend now that his divine sword has lost its power. She overwhelms him, reaches into his source, and crushes his second-to-last one. She tells him to give up. Instead, Lei remembers his promise to Misa. If she ever carried a heavy fate, he'd always come to save her. Avos claims that if he destroys her, he'll never achieve his goal. The pathetic hero who keeps sacrificing himself to save the world. She asks if this time he's willing to sacrifice the woman he loves. Deep inside, the real Misa trembles in fear. Lei calls her out for stalling. Even if she killed him now, Anos would destroy her next. He prepares the technique her father taught him, unleashes the spirit god's hidden art, and strikes. After the shockwave, 2 portals open. Avos falls from one while Misa falls from the other. Lei catches Misa and announces that a half-source can't survive for long. Just as the lore foretold, the Demon King will now be slain by the hero. Avos laughs, saying it's pointless because Misa will disappear soon as well. She reminds Misa they're one and the same. Misa accepts that truth. She spent her whole life dreaming of a world where royals and hybrids could coexist, and she won't let a fake Demon King destroy that dream. She has a true Demon King who never bows to injustice, friends who stand beside her, a father waiting for her return, and a hero who loves her. Someone incapable of understanding Lei's love has no right to be her. Enraged, Avos fires a Geo Graze. Misa steps in front of it, but Lei slices through the attack and annihilates Avos. However, Avos suddenly reappears holding Venuznor, the magic sword of destruction. Lei tries to give her an intense backshot, but it doesn't penetrate, and Avos immediately cuts him down. She turns and launches a massive Geo Graze at Misa, but an even stronger blast intercepts it. The barrier shatters, and Anos arrives alongside Shin and Leno. Anos commends her for taking Venuznor, but says it's too late. However, Avos claims the magic sword of destruction is the emblem of the Demon King of Tyranny. With that, he's lost his name, his subordinates, his castle, and the very symbol of his power. They activate their demonic eyes while Shin and Leno teleport Misa to safety. They fire Geo Graze at each other and destroy the palace. She shoots black lightning, then summons demonic chains, but he dispels them. She rushes in with the blade, but he stops it with his bare hands. Venuznor freezes him in darkness and starts sending him into the void. Suddenly, he stabs through the demonic melons. Avos wonders how it was possible since she had Venuznor, but Anos says their powers are worlds apart and asks if a magic sword would change that. She peers into his demonic eyes but couldn't see the bottom of his abyss. He calls her nothing but a fraud, then crushes her source as she screams in agony. After it shatters, he blows her back across the room. However, Avos declares herself the blood child of the great spirit mother, the child of God. She reveals a crystal and revives Nous Galia in his diddler form. When she stabs herself with Venuznor, the former goddess of destruction, the Demon King's palace Delsgade rises from the ground. Nous orders the goddess of destruction to awaken and annihilate the pair of Demon Kings. The sun of ruin covers the moon, lights up the sky, and blankets Dilhade in darkness as Avos Dilhevia disappears. Anos appears before Nos and accuses him of ignoring every tragedy over the last 2,000 years. A god like him had no place in this world. Nous claims it's impossible to survive the sweep of the goddess of destruction. His continued existence is a contradiction to natural order. Anos says their kind created that order, and he had no reason to follow it. Nous tries to move but couldn't, and asks what he did to him. Anos answers with one word: fear. A being without a soul shouldn't be able to feel fear. He orders Nous to laugh. If he could laugh under these circumstances, he is truly order, free of malice, and Anos would spare him. If not, it would prove he had a soul, and Anos would annihilate him. He gives him 3 seconds. When Anos counts down to 1, Nous laughs, but Anos says that laugh proves he wanted to live out of fear, and he was never order. Outraged, Nous charges him, but Anos impales his chest and places Erdomaid under a contract. If he never defied him, he'd grant any wish. Erdomaid laughs and accepts. If destroying order meant destroying the world, all he had to do was transfer its divine power to the Blaze Death King. Nous says divine power could never be transferred to a demon. However, Anos reveals Erdomaid had spent 2,000 years preparing to steal those powers through his source. He suggests condemning Nous to a bug's fate and reincarnating him as a roach every life. Before disappearing, Nous curses him and declares his actions would one day bring about the extinction of the world and that divine prophecies were absolute. After reawakening, Erdomaid praises the Demon King's wicked power to usurp a god so easily. He laughs diabolically, then crushes Nous's pitiful existence. As the sun disappears, Misa wakes up in Leno's arms. Leno apologizes because she didn't have much time and says bringing Misa into the world was her greatest joy. She thanks Shin for bringing joy into her life. Shin thanks her too and tells her he loves her. Misa tears up and begs her to come back. Anos comforts her, but she blames herself for Leno's death since her birth contradicted Leno's rumors and traditions. However, Anos says Leno hadn't disappeared, but first he had to save her. He orders Lei to strike her down with the Spirit God Sword and says he'll explain afterward. Lei uses Evans Mana's divine power and cuts through her source. They separate her very being from Avos Dilhevia, and Anos suggests reinventing Misa's traditions. The reincarnated Demon King was defeated and reborn as the pure spirit Misa. That tradition had already begun spreading among humans thanks to Igarith. By giving birth to a demon, the Great Spirit Mother contradicted her traditions and perished. However, with Avos Dilhevia now reborn as a spirit, there was no reason for Leno to have died. Misa wakes up in Leno's arms and starts crying as Leno comforts her. After the war, Misa prepares to address the nation as the fake king. Apparently, the gloomy Shin hasn't said a word to her. Anos gives him a push and tells him to encourage her since she was nervous. When she greets him, all he says is yes. Misa grows even more nervous but tells him not to worry. Shin says she has no reason to be nervous. He watched her join the Unitarians just to meet him and says she's grown into a kind and strong girl. The others smile as she runs into his arms. Anos addresses the demon nation with his subordinates and family on one side and the demon emperors on the other. He introduces the spirit queen of Aharthurn, the spirit king who proves spirits and demons are kin, and the hero of Azeshion who fought against the demons. They all sought peace. Avos Dilhevia, born from the demon king's rumors and traditions, had been slain by the spirit god sword and reincarnated as the pure spirit Misa. He declares the need for blades of hatred had expired and the crowd cheers. The lovely baddies from the fan union appear and begin singing Anos's praise and glazing his glizzy. After the ceremony, Misha and Sasha ask how they survived the Son of Ruin. Anos suddenly realizes something and asks Misha if she remembered seeing Venuznor 2,000 years ago. He guesses it must have been him who activated it before dying. He was certain the Son of Ruin wouldn't harm them that day but couldn't remember why. Apparently, a part of his memory is missing. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe for more recaps like this and look out for part 3.